Hello world, it's me Cora Flora, and today I'm making a video about multidimensional beauty. My initial inspiration was to make a video about my locks, but once I started to do it, I just started to talk about being multidimensional and past lives and expressing our true souls through our bodies, and that's when this idea kind of came through. So the question I'd love to just present to you and the world is, what if instead of beauty being something that we try to fit into, what if beauty could be something that we open ourselves into? So I know for me, like much of my life, I've looked in magazines and looked at movies and thought, okay, that's what I'm supposed to be beautiful and lovable. And I've spent so much time looking at my body and being like, oh, this is weird and that's weird, or just judging myself. But what if instead I could really look at myself and really see the reasons why this body, this being is perfect for my life purpose? One of the ways that I've learned to tune into multidimensional expression is through psychedelics, through plant medicines, which I have loved. And I'm not going to say they're right for everybody, but I will say that I have benefited a lot from opening my perception in big ways. And one of the things I love about being in that visionary state is seeing things on different levels. So, like, for example, I remember once being in a visionary state with someone, and all of a sudden it was like I still had my soul shining through, but all of a sudden all these different faces of all these different beings I've been, all these different ethnicities and lifetimes were just flowing, and he could just see it all kind of like flashing before his eyes. And likewise, I remember being in a visionary state, and I looked at him and I saw a patchwork, like a quilt of all these different skin colors, all these different different kinds of beings that this person had been. And likewise, I also have had the experience where I was looking at someone and half of their face looked like a certain ethnicity, like Native American, and half of their face looked like Celtic, Irish. And it was just so fascinating. Like, I love being able to see deeper than just this skin and this hair and this body and this lifetime, because the truth is that we are all so multidimensional. That is one of the beautiful things about being alive at this time, is we have the opportunity to be human and have the consciousness of multidimensional experiences, of lives that we've been, and different layers to reality, different lessons, different understandings and overseeings of things that we haven't been able to see from these perspectives before. Actually, a friend of mine recently was talking about how the consciousness shift, the spiritual awakening that we're experiencing, that many of us are experiencing, and if you're watching this, you most likely are on this wavelength or interested in it. But one of the things she was telling me is, she was like, the fifth dimension is a perspective shift. It's a different way of seeing things. So that's why we're still in this experience together with people who might be having still a denser third dimensional experience, is that it's the perspective that we're seeing from is different, and that's what's shifting the vibrations. All right, I feel like I'm getting way out there. I'm gonna bring it down. I think I'm just so curious about who is watching this video, and my intention is that if you're watching this video, that this inspires you, and that perhaps it sparks your inner knowing about yourself and life. And primarily, this video is about multidimensional beauty. So I'm going to invite you to do something with me. So you can do this now if you have a mirror around you, or you can do this later. So looking at a mirror, I invite you to simply gaze into your own eyes. Now, normally when we look in the mirror, and I know this because I do this all the time, I'm looking at myself, I'm judging, I'm like, oh, look at this, oh, or like, oh, I got a pimple, or oh, blackheads, or I'm like, oh, who is this person? I'll get all judgy when I'm attached to this layer of expression, where I'm just like, that's my body, why is my body like that? I don't like this, I don't like that, I like this. It's one layer. But what if instead we can look at the different layers and go deeper into the dimensions of who we truly are? So one way of doing that, which I learned about through this book by Alberto Villoldo, Illumination, synchronistically the same title as my new album, Illumination. I named it before I saw this, but this book was definitely a marker on my path. But anyways, one of the shamanic practices that he teaches about is eye gazing through the mirror, and you can do this with another person, or you can do this with yourself. So, I mean, I recommend doing this with yourself first, just to open up your perception and really start experiencing this. So what you do is, again, instead of just looking at yourself, oh, why is this, okay, what you're gonna do is instead just stare and let your gaze soften. So as you do this, and you just let your eyes kind of soften, you'll notice that things get blurry, and then you'll notice that things start to shape in a certain way, and it's kind of like shape-shifting. I like to think it's just like a creative, energetic way of seeing. Wow, a little piece of hair just went right in front of the camera in the air. What? So the point is to loosen your perception so that you're not so focused on the physical limitations, but instead you're opening into that fluid sense of energy. And it might be kind of scary because you might be like, whoa, what's happening? What am I seeing here? I did this actually earlier, and I remember I was seeing like an alien, like a Pleiadian version of myself, and I was like, what? And now I'm kind of doing this on my photo booth right now. I'm kind of seeing, whoa, everything just, I'm seeing just like pixels, and seeing like a cat-like being, and seeing something that reminds me of like the priestesses of Isis in ancient Egypt. All right, I'm gonna stop now, but this is what happens where you simply just gaze, and while still focusing, you have a focus point, but let your gaze soften, and then see what symbols are shown to you, or what your perception opens up. And it might not be extremely specific as it is in a visionary state, but the energy and the translation will be there. The other day too, I mean, not the other day, recently I was kind of pondering, because I've definitely done this for faces, where in visionary states I'll see that, and you know, the face is very much connected to the soul, so you can see different things when you gaze at people's face and really just, you know, see their expression. But the body to me is like the next level, because I know for me, growing up in the Western world in this time, there was a ton of pressure to be thin, a ton of pressure to look a certain way, and I always had this belief, and I think it was, you know, kind of like seated in the cultural consciousness as well, that only a certain type of body is beautiful and lovable. And thankfully there's so many people doing great work to shatter those paradigms on a cultural level, so that the media can show all different kinds of bodies and all different kinds of beings, so that we can see that all are beautiful. But that being said, what if we could also use this sort of gazing technique to see our bodies, and not just to like, you know, to really see why this body is perfect. Because the truth is that before we came into this life, we chose these bodies, we mapped our lives to a certain extent, and we knew that these bodies would give us the experiences that we needed to fulfill our purpose. And just like I feel that when you kind of open up, you can see different elements of facets of the soul through the face, I really feel like it's the same thing through the body. And what if instead of judging our bodies and trying to make them fit into a certain box, we could appreciate them and just open into their beauty and really just see like, well, why is this perfect? Like, why is this kind of body perfect for my life purpose? And I really think that, like, whether you want to change your body or not, that's actually a great place to start, is that place of authentic love. And more than just authentic love, but multidimensional love. Like really just being like, interesting, why is my body like this? Like I feel like for me personally, my body's really strong. my body is curvaceous. My body is different than other bodies. Every body is different. But this body has really challenged me. Like, I was bullied. I have felt a lot of shame in my life. And I would love to get to a place where I appreciate that this body, just like my face, contains all the information about my soul. Actually, I remember doing a Lomi Lomi Hawaiian healing / shamanic healing course with somebody, an amazing lady in Peterborough, who was telling me that the body holds the key to every information that you might, all the keys of information to the soul. And so very often, like, energies will be locked in and you can release them, or very often, you can, even just touching a body, you can receive information about the soul and their healing journey. So this video, I feel like we're getting to the point of, I don't want to go any longer than this, but I invite you to gaze in the mirror, and instead of judging yourself, to open your perception and really see what you are, more than just this form, but allow yourself to see the multidimensional, incredible, beautiful soul emerging, the energy that you truly are. And not just your face, but I would say your body too. Allow yourself to really see why you are perfect, exactly as